All right, hello and welcome back. It's been a second since I've done a live, and I apologize for that. I've been doing a lot of travel. I have a newborn son, and guess what? We're back in the saddle. Very, very excited for this week. I'm going to be sharing one of my favorite topics today. We're going to be talking about creative finance, specifically how we made the first $5 million of net worth in real estate using creative finance. There actually is a strategy to this that anyone can copy. So if you are new to the channel, this is the first time checking out a live, first of all, welcome. Ask as many questions as you want in the chat on the right. We'll answer the questions until they end or before we start our mentorship group here, which starts in about 45 minutes. So this will be a live that will go about a maximum of half an hour, but very excited to have everyone here. I'm going to be talking specifically on the creative finance part, how to get creative, why we got creative the way we did. There's one or two rules that I followed that made this very, very possible. Now I have basically infinite deal flow. I just looked at a new deal where it looks like I'm going to be buying another 9-plex, another 8-plex, a 76 unit building, and possibly shifting around some of my pieces. You can get really creative if you understand how to keep it simple. And it can get really complicated if you understand how to keep it simple. And I will explain how to do this. It plays just like a board game. Anyone can do this. Again, this is how I made the first few million in real estate. You could absolutely copy this and do the exact same thing. So let's start with the main rule. How do we actually keep it simple? I've shared this story many times. I'm going to dive right into it. 38 unit, first building that I ever purchased. 38 unit building. Well, first significant multifamily building and first seller finance deal. The reason that it worked is because all the sellers wanted was $10,000 a month. That was it. They wanted $10,000 a month, a $2 million purchase price. They've tried to sell this building for years and years and years and years and years, never sold. What did we end up doing? We offered them $2 million. We gave them what they wanted. We offered them $10,000 a month. The problem is I had a rule, long-term cash flow and fixed rate debt, and wasn't making $10,000 a month. That couldn't work. What we did is we negotiated lower payments for the first 6 months and ramped it to $10,000. If you see what we did there, we took the simplest possible answer. I need cash flow. What they propose doesn't cash flow. How can we say yes to them and still cash flow? Okay, well, yes, I accept your offer. Caveat, we're going to need to swap one thing here, just one little thing around. I'm going to need you to sell our finance at a lower price for the first 6 months so we can get the rent up and make this deal work. That's it. It's not rocket science. If you're looking at this, you're like, okay, that worked on that deal. Let me give you 3 other examples. Rapid fire. About 3 weeks later, 3 or 4 weeks later, bought a 7-plex in the Seattle area, a city called Tukwila. We bought it for $1,150,000. We bought it 3.5% down, extremely low, 3% interest. What they wanted was 150 down. We didn't have 150, but between me, my buddy Cody, and one other friend, we could all cobble together $50,000. I mean, when we were starting this, we were dead broke. So all of us put together money, got together what we needed to close the deal, which was $50,000. That's all we needed to put together. Put $50,000 down, and at the end of every year, there's an additional $20,000 or $20,000 principal pay down. That's it. Super simple. It's like, okay, I cannot give you all of it, but here's what we'll do. We'll do 50 now, and at the end of every year, I'll pay you an extra $20,000 in principal, which was less than the deal cash flowed. What did I do? I got long-term cash flowing fixed rate debt. I wrote the deal where it worked. We got an offer that worked for all parties. The adjustment was I cannot pay you $150,000 right now. But what if I gave you 50 right now, and over the next 5 years, we give you $20,000 a year, which equals, that comes out to $150,000. What did we do? We said yes to everything that the seller wanted. Shared this story recently. I'm going to share it again. 25 units, Stephenville, Texas. By the way, notice we went from a deal in Central Washington to Seattle, both in a blue state, small city, big city. Stephenville, Texas, small city, red state, totally different area. Seller, 25plex, wants $2 million, familiar price. He wants 5% interest. Very generous interest. For where the market was at that time, we'd be getting a loan around probably 7.5 to 8% at the time that we bought that. 5% interest, awesome. $2 million for a 25-unit building in great condition, great price. Problem is, rents were really low. Rents were about half of market rate. Now, while I can raise those, remember, we always buy for cash flow, long-term cash flowing fixed rate debt. Notice, this is consistent on every single deal. Asked if he'll do 3% in the first year, then or 3.5%, then go to 4%. He said no. Okay. What if the payments were 3.5%, then 4%, but the interest is 5%? Well, what would that look like? We add to the principal of the deal. It's called a reverse amortization. Now, while this may seem like a complicated thing, that is the simplest answer to the equation. Can we do less than 5% interest? No. Can we do less than $2 million purchase price? No. How do you say yes to both? Okay. Yes, it's 5% interest. Yes, it's $2 million. However, we're not going to pay that much. It's going to add to the principal balance. It's like we bought it for $2,050,000. Final example. Found a deal, 44 units, amazing price. $1,850,000. Seller needed to be cashed out. Seller financing is now not on the table. I also did not have the liquidity at the time to write a check to buy a building for $1,850,000. How do we do this? Well, a lot of people go to the bank. We went to the bank, asked what the terms will look like. Since seller financing is not on the table, private capital is going to be too expensive. What does conventional look like? They said 7.12%. They'll do 80% loan to value. Right there, we have an opportunity, an amazing price, and we have a debt product. 80% of the money is figured out. Where did the last 20 come from? 3 investors who are going to get a crazy multiple on their money on the particular deal. 44 units, Stephenville, Texas. If you're noticing a trend here, it's the simplest answer every single time. By the way, if you apply this to any board game ever, you're going to win a heck of a lot more than a lot of other people. This is the way that you play the game. If you want to have more success, you want to consistently win again and again and again and again and again and again, you keep buying deals and answer the question the simplest way possible. And you'll find that many times, if you map this correctly, your goal is cash flow. Their goal is whatever their goal is. If you can say yes to everything the seller wants, you will always get a yes. Now, what's happened to me today? I've done this enough times where all the people in my markets know me. They like me. They trust me. They've seen me do this, and they've seen me do this for a sustained period of time. They all know that I'm a serious investor who does their renovations, who takes good care of the tenants, and always pays their bills. I also have more pieces on the board now. I have small multifamily, I have mid-sized multifamily, I have some larger multifamily buildings. I just had an offer come, and we may or may not accept this, but I have a hospitality project. I've talked about this before. Hospitality is not my forte. They've offered to swap me just 1-for-1 their multifamily portfolio. Well, pretty much 1-to-1, their multifamily portfolio for my hospitality portfolio. Well, that's a great alignment of pieces. The simplest answer to doing a project that you don't specialize in, if you wish you didn't do hospitality, is can I turn my hospitality into multifamily in the simplest way possible? Now, again, early discussions. It doesn't mean that I found the solution. It doesn't mean that's accepted. It doesn't really mean anything other than these are the opportunities that start presenting themselves when you understand how to get creative. What is the simplest? The simplest answer is almost always the correct answer. And if you can answer all of your side and all of this other side, you're going to buy deals like crazy. And then you get pieces on the board, and now you have more plays available. I can trade an asset. I can lean an asset. I can have someone buy into an asset. Now I have more ability to play with my 3 resources: cash flow, liquidity, and equity. Hopefully, this is starting to click. If you understand how to underwrite a deal, which is number one, like if you don't know how to do that, you're not going to buy anything. If you know you're looking at a deal, you see an opportunity, you put together the math and you said, okay, I know I'm looking at a deal, but no one else has figured out how to close it. Every time, and without exception, the simplest answer to the seller's problem has always been what got accepted, always got it done. And if you can look at deals this much different, and I mean this much different, like what if the payments were lower than the interest? Would it cash flow? Easy questions like this. If you can answer those questions better and faster than other people, you're just going to close more deals. Conventionally, hard money, seller financed, land contract, you name it. You can do the method if you answer the question. That's it. So hopefully this is starting to click for you. By the way, if anyone has any questions, you can always post them here in the chat here on the right. I can put them up here. Smaller live because I'm going at a weird time today. It's Monday. I felt like going live. I haven't gone live in a second. By the way, lives are coming back. If you guys want to see more live content, you guys want to get into the game, we're back on Wednesdays. We are going to continue the original time of 5 o'clock Central. I bounced around some different times. If you're like, okay, I committed to the lives, Christian dropped off, I found another live. Congratulations, you can come back now. It's going to be the same time it always was. I have a tendency to run webinars and other content on Wednesdays as well. Conveniently, they're at 6 Central, which means if you're watching the live and you want to take a deeper dive at any point, you can always jump from one to the other. If you guys want to have an actual structured lesson, you can dive into the structured lesson. If you want to ask questions before, you can jump on the live. Pretty good strategy here. So I've put together a system now where I will be consistently here every single Wednesday, no matter what. So if you're looking for more content, you're looking for how to execute. That's my advice. By the way, practical steps. The last thing I'll say here. Practical steps. So in creative, and by the way, for those who just joined, if you are getting creative, and I absolutely think you should, the simplest answer is always the right answer. If it doesn't cash flow day one, how do you lower the payments? The only way to do it is to borrow less money, borrow cheaper money, or add a creative clause. My buddy Caleb had a genius way to do this. He had a deal that needed more time to renovate and lease up. He had the money lined up. He closed the deal, would not cash flow day one until he got through his projects. Now, your options here are violate your principles, buy it where it's negative cash flow, and hope you make it through. Or do what Caleb did. I call this the Hummel hack. I've talked about it many times. No payments for 6 months. Doesn't accrue, doesn't add up. You give them a down payment. You have 6 months of rest. Get through your project. Get your increases in if you're doing rent increases. Start paying in 6 months. He had a cash flowing deal, locked it down. First deal for Caleb. His second deal, Hummel hack, 3 months. Wasn't a full 6 months. He got 3 months off of all payments. It's a very common thing for me to offer now. If I'm coming in and I'm like, okay, this project's close. It needs some management, and it's a 6-month management flip. It's like, okay, let's not pay the mortgage during that time legally. Get the seller to sign saying, I'm not going to do it. The simplest answer is going to be the best. If you're looking for the skills that you need in your arsenal to close these, number one, learn how to underwrite a deal. I have a whole community, multifamily strategy. You can learn to do that, by the way. You can check that out anytime, multifamilystrategy.com. I also talk a lot about this on this channel. Understand the actual math, the analytics that you need to know to say, hey, when I close this deal, it's going to cash flow for me. I understand this. You cannot put together an opportunity if you don't understand when you're looking at an opportunity. And what will happen if you're not confident in the math, you're never going to write the offer. Number two, there's 3 things you need to do to find deals. You need to get around the people who are buying deals, and this is an all-the-time thing. There is no level of entrepreneur where there's not just another level to go meet another owner. You're always getting around owners. We talk about all the time on the channel. But what can you do to buy a deal right now? Find the deals on market, call the brokers, do the math, and figure out where does this deal make sense? Not where is it listed, not what are they asking for. Where does the deal make sense? Then call the broker and say, hey, I put this together. This is where it works for me. Would it be offensive if we sent this offer? Like, is it a total waste of our time if we wrote this offer, or is this worth getting in front of the seller? Oftentimes they'll say, well, it can't hurt. Let's write it up. And occasionally they'll come back accepted. If you are doing this 2 times a month, 2 offers, eventually one's going to get accepted this year. If you want to kick it to 4, you're going to get 1 or 2 deals accepted in the next 6 months. If you've done a good job identifying this is what I think the seller wants, this is what I can do, you put in those offers. The other thing it's going to do is brokers are going to start realizing, wait, this is a guy who actually understands what he wants and will actually write the offer. It is different than everyone else who's looking for deals or just not writing them up at all. I am not saying write 1 million LOIs or write 1 million offers on every property and lowball people. That will get you off of every broker's list. But if you are being considerate, you're doing the math, you're writing deals that at least make sense, occasionally you're going to be amazed how often they actually do come back accepted. Number 3, if you're not doing this, guys, this is the cheat code to meeting other owners. 1 meetup. Choose 1 meetup every single month that you go to with real estate investors in your area. I have never seen an iteration of anyone in multifamily strategy going to a meetup, intentionally going to meet 10 owners. So I'm going to just meet 10 other people who are also in real estate. Here's what you find there. All the lenders go to these events. Some of your favorite, most active owners, the best people you can meet who are really social and want to talk, are at these events. You learn things from guest speakers at these events. It is a cheat code to get around a bunch of people in one place, and also a place to practice your skills communicating with other owners, so when you're in front of someone else, you're even better. If you did these three things, if you're always looking for new owners to connect with, you go to one meetup a month, one meetup, with the intention of talking to at least 10 people there and having an intelligent conversation, and you call on the deals on your market and submit at least 2 offers a month. If you did those things, everyone listening to this, literally everyone, would buy a deal in the next 6 months, because you don't need money to close a deal. You need an opportunity. Then you need a debt product. And if you need more money, you bring in another person or two. This method has worked tremendously for me for a long time. This is how I made my first $5 million. It's how I'll make my next $5 million. It's how I'll make my next $10 million after that. I intend to buy, right now I have about $37 million of real estate. I intend to buy another $30 million of real estate this year. Because I don't syndicate, I have ludicrously high equity positions in my portfolio, even with all the partners. How do we do this? Answer the questions. Everyone's objective. The investor, the seller, you. Answer it in the simplest way possible. If you want to get better at this, play more freaking board games. I'm not kidding. Play a strategy game. Whoever can do, basically, this is how every strategy board game works, by the way. Whoever can find the simplest path to win in the least amount of moves wins the game. You can have an amazing strategy and it can have all these steps. It can be super complicated. Whoever has the simplest strategy and can execute on it wins, period. That is how board games work. Real estate plays the exact same way. You want to win the game, that's how you do it. Question here in the chat. You may have already answered this. Sorry, my camera's like right in front of my computer screen here. But what is your main strategy for paying off an equity partner who helped with the down payment? I love this question. This is this comes up all the time. So how are we paying back these equity partners? You find the deal, you find the debt, you find the equity, but you want to own the real estate all on your own. How are they making a return? Most common way, it's out of a future refinance. If you have a way to increase the income, which is why we buy apartment buildings, by the way, 5 units and up, they're valued on your actual performance. If you can increase the net operating income, increase the value of the property, you can get a new loan, pay them a return. Now, I have some deals where this return has been a 2 or 3x on their money. Sometimes it gets insane. It's a huge multiple. In other deals where we have high cash flow day one, they get a return for a set period of time, and I have a set period of time to return their money to them and buy their equity back. I've literally had it where it's, okay, I can buy you out at principal anywhere in the next 5 years, but while your money is parked here, it's making 12%. It could be anywhere on a sliding scale there between cash flow and an equity multiple, but you get what you negotiate. You pay them off typically at some sort of liquidity event. Most often, it's going to be a down payment, or sorry, a refinance of a property. You could, this isn't a main strategy, but you can sell another property. You can also borrow new money or bring in a new investor and you finish the project. You find someone who wants to ride it for the cash flow. Someone got their equity multiple for putting the initial capital. There are so many different ways to do it. At the end of the day, how do you pay off your debts? Answer, you pay off your debts with money. The money can come in the form of a loan. It can come out of earned income. It can come out of the sale of property. It can come out of a refinance. There's a lot of different ways to move liquidity. But when you have a liquidity moment, you look through the portfolio and you go, okay, do I have any upcoming buyouts? Are there any buildings where I want to buy up my equity? If you don't have it in your contract to buy them out at a fixed price in a fixed period of time, first of all, you may have made an oops. I always have an option to buy out investors. I have very few exceptions to this. Always include a buyout option at a fixed price, fixed period of time. I look through those and I say, which one is coming up next and where's the money going to come from? But doesn't matter as much as long as at the end of the day, the real estate is buying the real estate. Again, earned income, sale, refinance, cash flow, loan, new investor buying out their position. There's so many different ways to cycle that equity to bring an investor in or out of a deal. And we've done this, every iteration of this all over the country. An easier way to find owner information. I know Reonomy is an option, but do you have others? Exciting news. You've seen it here first. I am in the middle of developing an app right now. This app will have owner information on a Google Map, where you can click on Google Maps and it'll bring you the contact information. Prepaid, you don't have to pay for skip trace. You can look up to 100 owners every single month. I am working on that in real time right now. This is a project that we're very excited about, and it's going to be unbelievably less expensive than Reonomy or PropStream or any of the other vendors that you've currently heard of. It's going to be simple. It's going to be easy. It's going to have a built-in CRM. Stay tuned for that. 2025 multifamily strategy app that's coming out. In the meantime, PropStream is probably the least expensive one. I actually do have a code for that. I will drop that when this video goes, probably later tonight. I'll add in the description my PropStream code. They'll give you a few dollars off. And by a few, I mean literally just a few dollars off. But I do have a code for that somewhere, and I can get that for you. They are cheaper than Reonomy by quite a bit. And I still do it the old-fashioned way, by the way. It's free on Google. Plug it in. Look it up on a parcel map. Google their name with the word phone number. Magically, their number will appear. What's the high-level math to know it's a good deal? I want to see cash-on-cash return, not because that is the end-all, be-all, because that's going to tell me if I need to that's going to tell me how I need to structure the deal. So on a high cash flow deal, I'm probably going to borrow additional debt because the deal can service additional debt. If it's a lot of future upside but doesn't cash flow a lot, I'm probably going to do an equity multiple to buy them out. So I need to know cash on cash return. I need to know DSCR, debt service coverage ratio. That is a true cash flow metric that takes into account your NOI and your debt service. It says, after paying all of my operating expenses, how much money is left over to pay my debts and to pay myself. It also tells you how lendable your deal will be if you want to refinance it. DSCR, debt service coverage ratio, very important. If you don't know it, loan factor rate, it's less talked about. If you're negotiating your own interest, your loan factor rate, your true cost of debt needs to be lower than the cap rate, which is your yield on capital in the deal. If you don't understand these terms yet, we have a course on this. It's called Multifamily Strategy. You can also look through some of the videos on math on this channel looking for loan factor rate. Not talked about enough. Fantastic metric. If you understand those things, loan factor rate, DSCR, cash on cash return, you can look at a deal and know that it's a good deal. What financial sheets or pro forma do you use to show an investor their expected return? I will typically put together a 10-page or so PowerPoint presentation. I am not big on spreadsheets or presentations. I will show you the number of what is the cash flow, what is the DSCR, where are we today, where are we headed. You will see the incomes and the expenses today and the incomes and expenses projected in the future conservatively. I will show you how I got there. I will show you pictures of the building. I will talk to you about the project and the hurdles that we anticipate getting there and why overcoming those hurdles are going to make us money. Then I explain this is your target return and why. It's that simple. We keep it very, very, very simple. This is true. My latest liquidity event. This was actually an anti-liquidity event. It turns out having a baby costs a lot of money, which, by the way, is a total ripoff. Babies should, you should get paid to have babies. They're awesome. They're a lot of work. I love being a dad, but yes, my latest event did come with a diaper, and it is awesome, and his name is Xander, and that is why I've been a little bit behind on these lives. I apologize for that. We are back. Wednesdays will be the day. I had a moment here on Inauguration Day, which, by the way, let me take a second to say, we're back. We're back to a new era. I'm very excited for this. This will be a lot different than the prior administration. I won't get political on this channel, but it's been a good day. I need to come up with a setup here where my camera that is right in front of me is not also in front of these words here, but here we go. How do you or your new investors, mentees, handle properties that need extensive rehab? They have no background in rehabbing properties. Do they partner up with others? That's a great way to do it, actually. You can partner up with other people. A lot of people have this experience, so you can get in. You can partner with other people who have the experience or get around a community of people who know. At the end of the day, it's always the same process, though. If you are not a handyman or a contractor, you're going to hire a team, usually with a GC, general contractor, and they're going to handle, quote, the renovations. You want to do not exceed quote so they don't go overbid by a ton. I've seen people go 75% overbid. That doesn't really help when you're trying to budget, especially if you're new. If you need extensive rehabs, First thing you do is you go to other owners in the area because you've been networking with other owners, and you ask them who they have used in the past. Get references. Then you have them quote the project. You select a quote. That is not part of your budget. Factor for at least a 15% overage in their budget, even with a do not exceed quote. You should be good from there. Just know that every time you start a large rental project, you get into the walls, you get into the plumbing, something else always comes up. It's just part of the rules. We find brokers on Facebook since it's a quick way. Do we call them via Facebook? I would never call anyone via Facebook. If my phone starts ringing and it says Facebook, I assume it's a scam and someone is trying to get me to donate money to children in some country in the middle of nowhere. That's almost always what it is. I get blown up for that on Facebook all the time. I follow people and they change their name to some foreign name and they call me on Facebook. Facebook is not a good method to call people on. Call them on the phone, especially if it's a broker. Their number should be advertised clearly all over the internet. And Cameron says, welcome back, Trump. Since I'm not a political channel, I'll just leave that up there for a second. Carson. I'll let Carson say that for us. By the way, if you guys didn't watch the inauguration, I think everyone can agree on this. Carrie Underwood not having the music come on and having 5 minutes of awkwardness, that was a fantastic rendition of the national anthem. And that was far, far, far better. Acapella. I'm glad that happened. That was a fun moment. I really enjoyed that. I also enjoyed the rest of it. But again, we're not going to get political on this channel. Sometimes we'll talk about politics and how they affect real estate, but we'll leave it there. All right, that's it for the questions that we have today. Actually, I might have one more. Let's see here. Just a comment. All right. That is it for the questions that we have today. Super excited to see you guys here. Again, we are back in full force on Wednesday. Thank you for joining. If you haven't yet, subscribe to the channel. We're going to hit 2025 off with a bang. Everything on this channel and everything in our mentorship for the first 6 months of the year is going to be focused on buying your next deal. That is it. The obstacles that you need to overcome, the methods that you're going to implement to get there. We are so excited to launch this year. So many things coming out from multifamily strategy. If you have not had the chance yet, I am going to be running a webinar this Wednesday. You are welcome to join. I will drop a link in this video. If you want to register to that, I will do that a little bit later tonight. So you're going to have to watch the replay. But we have that coming out here shortly. Very, very, very excited. Guys, have a fantastic start to your year. We're in a new political era, so we're going to see what happens. All we know for sure is that change is coming. And with change, there is always opportunity. So stay on the ball, and we'll see you guys on the next episode.